in politics in the beginning. If you look at the freedom movement of India, if you look at all the stalwarts who led India in the freedom movement, right from Mahatma Gandhi to Jawaharlal Nehru to Rajaji to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, you can go on naming anybody who played a significant role in the leadership of the freedom movement. You would find one common denominator among all of them. All of them were not super wealthy. All of them were not large landlords. All of them were not some feudal, warlord kind of social leaders. In fact, the common denominator among all of them was they were all highly educated. That was the political leadership of India when this country became independent. India is going to turn 60 this year. I mean, in our philosophy, I don't know how it is here in Maharashtra, in Tamil Nadu and all, when somebody turns 60, we in fact, we have a big ceremony commemorating them. We call Shashtra Purti. I don't know what the equivalent word is in Maharashtra, but I'm sure you have, yes, we have something equivalent here, India is turning 60. It's almost, they reenact the wedding in Tamil Nadu when you turn 60. I don't know how it works here. So, at 60, if you look at who the political leadership of this country is at various levels, you will notice that the class of people or the leaders who came from a particular section of society have simply abdicated that space. That abdication happened over a period of time. That abdication did not happen one fine day. It happened perhaps from the late 60s and sort of crept into the 80s. That is when this abdication happened. This abdication of not people of one particular community or one particular caste or class, it's an abdication of the educated middle class from the political spectrum. There is a total abdication from this class of people. This is the class of people who, according to me, have the most going for them in India. This whole liberalization process, this whole globalization process actually benefits that class of people. In fact, they are the biggest beneficiaries of this nation. If there is any class of people who have seen the greatest social mobility, it is the middle class. The wealthy have constantly been wealthy. The wealthy have been wealthy before independence, they have continued to remain wealthy. Of course, some families have dropped out of the radar, but they have continued to remain wealthy. But it is the middle class which has seen the greatest mobility. It is the middle class which has seen the greatest benefits from this country. It's the middle class which has taken more than it has given to this country. And it is this middle class which is completely and totally abdicating its responsibility to engage in the political process. Not only in engaging the political process, but even being remotely associated with the political process. This is the class of people who don't even go out and vote. I was driving to the airport in Bombay today from Nariman Point, and it's a long drive, and it was an early morning flight. Outside the passport office, I saw a huge queue. People standing in line. Most of them looked very middle class to me, trying to get their passports. But you would never find the same line when they have a voter registration drive. In spite of the fact that the Election Commission will take out advertisements in paper after paper, saying on the 29th of this month, outside this government school or whatever, your post office or your Tahsildar's office, we are going to register people to vote. Please come with proof of your address. Come there and sign up. You'll find nobody there. But you go outside the American consulate. The interview will be at 9 a.m. But you would have people queuing up there at 6 a.m. itself. The interest the middle class shows is always only in self-interest. Always only in self-interest. What matters to them in their own career advancements, in their own personal economic advancements. They're completely forgetting the fact that you really can't have economic and career development in isolation when the entire society is sort of being left behind. Yesterday I was at a place called Hard Rock Cafe in Bombay last night. This is, I don't know how many of you have been there. This is in the old Bombay Dyeing Mills complex. I went into Hard Rock Cafe. I mean, it's an old, like a textile mill, like a big high ceiling. But you go in there and they shut the door. The music is at a decibel which will probably break my eardrums. I saw people there. I saw the ambience there. I saw the I wouldn't say in your face display of wealth, but yes, there was tremendous display of wealth there. And once they shut the door, one could have been anywhere in the world. One could have been in Berlin. One could have been in New York. one could have been anywhere in the world. That's how it was. And I've been to Hard Rock Cafe in other parts of the world. And this Hard Rock Cafe, according to me, rocked harder than any other Hard Rock Cafe I've seen. It rocked. I mean, that is in Bombay dying, I don't know which area. I think it's in Worli, I think it's in that area. But the moment you walk out of the door, get into your car, and just take one slight turn, you'd see people lying down on the pavements, sleeping in the pavements. That is the reality of India. But for that India to change, no NGO can change that. No large industrialist writing a check to some charity can change that. Few college students coming up and starting some sort of an picket or a protest outside that can change that. All this can't change. This can only change through effective government. This can only change through effective politics. It can't change by one do-gooder or one person with a good intention coming out on NDTV and saying that we will look at this pitiable sight of these people there. In fact, I always maintain that in the Salman Khan running over people on the pavements of Bombay, the greatest tragedy was not that he ran over people. The greatest tragedy is that in 21st century India, people sleep in the streets. That is the tragedy. It's not a tragedy that there was one bad driver who had a bad day at something or he just lost control. That can actually happen to any one of us. I know a few months ago there was, I think, a whole bunch of teenagers who were coming out of a late night party who ran over things. I mean, I'm not sympathizing with them, I'm not holding a brief for them. But all I'm saying is that can happen to a good driver too. You can be a good driver, you might just avoid a car and run over people. The tragedy is not that they got run over by a car. The tragedy is there are 8 lakh people apparently in Bombay who live in the streets. 8 lakh people. Larger than, that population is probably larger than most cities in the world or small communities in the world. And here we are mouthing platitudes saying that Bombay will become like Shanghai. I mean, if there was a pipe dream, this is really a pipe dream. This is simply not accepting the realities which face us and not accepting the solutions which actually we need to employ in order to reach that supposed dream. These kinds of systemic problems which we face in India, the problems of people living in the streets, the problems of malnutrition, the problems of great illiteracy, the problems which really confront society can't be handled in the NGO mode. Somehow or the other, the middle class in India think that NGOs are the answer to lots of problems. They think handing over certain key decision making or the process in which this aid or something will be delivered, give it to NGOs. NGOs are somehow holy organizations which have the best intentions in the world, will somehow come up with the ideal solution. Nothing can be more sillier than that. NGOs are nothing but special interest groups. Yes, NGOs do a lot of good work, but NGOs really can't represent society. NGOs can never take into account of the entire gamut of the problems we face. The only organization, or if I might say, which cuts across the entire society would be government. But without good government, without good policies and implementation from government, you really will never be able to change anything to a great extent. And in India, if you want to have effective government, you must have good politics. You can't have bad politics and expect to have good government. You can't have bad politicians and expect to have good government. You can't have the quantity of people going into politics offering themselves to be elected to be not idealistic, not visionary, not educated, and not scientific, and expect government to be visionary, idealistic, and scientific. You can't do that. A country can't be run by an unelected bureaucracy. A country can only be run effectively by a representative democracy. And we have chosen that path. In India, we have clearly chosen the elective democratic path. And nothing in this world is ever going to change that. It's very, very fashionable for the middle class sometimes to say all India needs is a dictator. Or we need one dictator who will come and set things right. Or they will say during emergency everything worked well. I don't remember the emergency, I was too young. I don't know, I'm sure none of you also remember the emergency. They would say emergency things worked very well. But forgetting the fact that in a democratic